Hey guys, what's been this video? I want to do an early comparison of the Samsung Galaxy S5 versus the all-new HTC One M8 or whatever the name will be. So yes, first of all, I will be starting off with the design. So truth to be told, Samsung's last few Galaxy S flagships didn't really stand out much with their design. So sure, because they were remarkably thin and light, but overall their glossy, plasticky construction couldn't wow us. This time around, Samsung's designer have taken a slightly different approach by treating the Galaxy S5's backplate to be perforated dot pattern, a shimmering matte finish. As a result, the phone looks far more sophisticated than its predecessor, despite a plastic build. But nonetheless, it's still plastic, whatever. Its surface feels nice to touch without being too rough or too slippery. The all-new HTC One, however, is likely to score higher than the S5 in the design department, of course. That's because, according to what has been leaked, the HTC's new flagship will adopt the critically acclaimed all-metal constructions of its predecessor and complemented by a brushed finish. On the downside, the next HTC One expected to be slightly thicker and heavier than the Samsung Galaxy S5. Leaked paper indicate that the former will have a thickness of 0.37 inches, which is almost 9.35 millimeters, and a weight of 160 grams, while the later 0.32 inches, 8.1 millimeter thickness, and weighs about 145 grams. So yes, Galaxy S5 will be lighter as compared to the all-new HTC One. Now, the Samsung Galaxy S5 has a few tricks up its sleeves, tricks that the new HTC One won't have to offer as far as we know. That these include the S5's fingerprint sensor, which is embedded in its home screen, and the hardware sensor placed on the back of the device. And also, the former is used for unlocking the phone as well as for restricting access to the certain files, as well as that we see on the iPhone 5s. And also, the heartbeat sensor comes with an S Health app to monitor the user activity during exercise. And also, no less important is the fact that the Galaxy S5 is a water resistant phone. You can also dip the phone in water. You can also drop the water on the phone. It will not cause any kind of damage. Of course, the absence of these three perks in the new HTC flagship won't render it not worth buying, but they do add to the already long list of features that make the Galaxy S5 such an exceptional device. And also, on the other hand, the front of the all-new HTC One will be graced by a pair of boom sound speakers, which will deliver high-quality stereo sound, judging by our experience with the HTC One. The Galaxy S5 has just one loudspeaker, which is placed on its back. This could potentially make the new HTC One more desired by those who often listen to music from their smartphone, as well as for those who enjoy watching videos and playing games on their handset. Now I want to talk about the display. From the looks of it, the Samsung Galaxy S5 has a 1080p display, and also smartphones sporting QHD displays are bound to go sale before 2014 is out, and of course starting off 2015. But the 1440 by 2560 is a jaw-dropping pixel, and also both the Galaxy S5 and the HTC One, a new HTC One, however, will come with a 1080 by 1920 pixel display, not Quad HD display. So should that bother anyone? Nope, absolutely not, since a 1080p smartphone screen is already detailed enough to produce more details than our eyes can detect under normal usage conditions. Also, a high resolution display would put more strain on these phones' hardware, which could potentially result in poorer performance or increased power consumptions, because the batteries on these phones will not be so better and not ready for a Quad HD display. So that's why we're perfectly fine with the Samsungs and HTCs launching their flagship with a 1080p HD screen. As far as size goes, the screens on the Samsung Galaxy S5 and the new HTC One should be almost equally large. For the record, the former Galaxy S5 has a slight advantage with its 5.1-inch display, even though the HTC One the all-new HTC One behind only by a hair, offering a 5-inch display. The pixel density figures are 432 and 441 ppi respectively. Now that we have gone over similarities, it's time to highlight that what could set the two phone screens apart through its tradition. Samsung has equipped the Galaxy S5 with a Super AMOLED HD display, which isn't that bad for a choice. People tend to like them for their vibrant colors and excellent viewing angles. HTC, on the other hand, is probably going to use a Super LCD screen for its new one, and also we don't know for sure whether or not that's the case. And the rumor mill has been silent on the matter. But since the recent HTC's flagship have all relied on LCD panels, actually Super LCD panels, so it seems to safe to assume that the new HTC One will stick to this trend. Not that we are complaining. After all, the screens on the last year HTC One looked outstanding, and also we are expecting for the display on its successor to be no less impressive. Whether it will be look better looking than the Galaxy S5s, however, which is still a mystery. But of course, the displays on the both of devices will look awesome. The next up is the interface. So Samsung will be launching the Galaxy S5 with a new and improved version of its custom interface known as the TouchWiz, which will run on top of the Android 4.4.2 KitKat. Visually, the UI in its latest form has a flatter and simpler design, as is now the trend across the industry. Feature-wise, many of the additional features offered by previous TouchWiz releases are present, including Smart Stay, multi-window, blocking mode, but there's a handful of new extra as well. Among them are the new My Magazine home screen panel, which creates new and articles and accumulates all the articles from across the internet. Private mode, which may be used to hide some of the content stored on the device, and the ultra power saving mode, which could extend the battery life of the phone dramatically. According to what's been floating on the web, the all new HTC One will ship with Sense 6.0, hopefully laid over Android 4.4.2 KitKat. And also there's a very little known about the interface new version at this time, but looking at the leaks, we're expecting to see little in terms of visual alteration. As far as functionality goes, the blink feed is surely going to get an update, and also an option to sort content by category should be present. It is worth mentioning that the new HTC One appears to have on-screen visual buttons, just like the Nexus 5, as opposed to last year's model, which had that physical capacitive buttons of the HTC One. So yes, we will see the on-screen buttons on the HTC One, and during playing games, you can hide those on-screen buttons, and then you will get a full 5-inch 1080p display. The next up is the processor and memory. Both Samsung and HTC's upcoming flagship phones will be powered by a Snapdragon 801 processor, which is arguably the most powerful of its kind right now. Yet the Galaxy S5 will have the upper hand, at least on the paper, as its CPU have a slightly higher top clock rate of 2.5 GHz. The CPU on the One will max out at 2.3 GHz according to what has been leaked so far. Nevertheless, despite this theoretical advantage for Samsung's phone, we doubt that there will be any encounter for performances and stuff like that, performances issues with either of these devices. So the amount of RAM on both of the handsets is 2 GB. This is a bit odd since we have already handled phone with 3 GB of RAM for better multitasking experience. Not that 2 GB are insufficient. Of course, quite the contrary. 2 GB should more than enough for most users' need. Although another gig would have made more phones more feature proof. So when it comes to raw storage, the Galaxy S5 will be available with either 16 or 32 gigs of internal memory, and also about 6 GB of that space will be occupied by non-removable system files. A micro SD card slot for storage expansion will be available, which is a welcome feature. Rumor has it that the all-new HTC One will also be available in 16 as well as 32 GB variants, and seeing a 64 GB model is also not out of the question. This time around, HTC has chosen to equip its flagship phone with a slot of micro SD card. In terms of the camera, the Galaxy S5 is a very great camera phone with a 16 megapixel camera with a super fast autofocus HDR mode and real-time preview, which also supports a 4K video recording but not optical image stabilization, which is a frustration thing because LG is offering optical image stabilization on its Nexus 5. and also the LG G2 and the LG G Pro 2. But nonetheless, Galaxy S5 will be awesome in terms of camera. And also on the other hand, the all new HTC One will have dual cameras. So yes, one camera will take photos, and the other camera will add effects like blurring out the background and other stuff to like creating a shallow depth of field effect by blurring out the background, as I explained earlier, which is very neat and definitely very groundbreaking. Well, not really. The Samsung Galaxy S5 already has identical modes built into its camera app, but and it doesn't even need the help of a secondary cam in order to enable them. Yet, who knows, the dual camera might have a higher purpose that we don't know about yet. Guess we'll have to see about that, and we'll have to wait. So yes, from a technical perspective, the main camera on the HTC One's backside is expected to be the ultra pixel variety with a 1 by 3.0 sensor size and f2.0 aperture and pixel size of 2 micrometers. Exact megapixel count isn't being specified. Sadly, it seems like HTC has used the same camera mode, the camera found on the 2013 HTC One model, which is a very bad sign considering that the photos that the HTC One 2013 photos are often not as good as the one made by its competitors like the Galaxy S4. Perhaps the software driving the camera will help it achieve better results. Speaking of software, we're expecting to see a new camera interface on the new HTC One interface that is simpler to use and navigate. Interestingly, it is said that the HTC has picked a 5 megapixel front-facing camera for its upcoming flagship with a wide-angle lens and HDR sport. If that's the case, the new HTC One could be an excellent phone to shoot selfies with, and of course, with its 2.1 megapixel camera, the Galaxy S5 should also be highly suitable for this purpose. So now I want to talk about the expectations. So there's a lot like about the Samsung Galaxy S5. It is powerful, feature-packed, water-resistant, and equipped with a very promising 16 megapixel camera. All of these factors could potentially turn into a bestseller for the company in no time after its release. But from what we know about the upcoming HTC flagship so far, we can assume that the all-new HTC One could be a worthy alternative to Samsung's top phone. The HTC's new high-end model will surely pique the curiosity of both critics and consumers with its premium constructions, fancy camera setup, and a front-facing stereo loudspeakers. Will the new HTC One be better than the Galaxy S5? However, well, at this time, a question like this is impossible to answer since the HTC's upcoming flagship is not official yet, and there's a few more blanks about it that have to be filled in. On one hand, we are confident that the new HTC One will be better looking smartphone between the two, but on the other hand, we are a bit skeptical about HTC's new dual camera, which appears to be a little more than an ultra pixel snapper paired with a secondary cam for adding fancy effects to the image, for example blurring out the background like a DSLR camera. So furthermore, we're getting the feeling that all new HTC One won't be that big of an upgrade over its predecessor. This could make people holding on to a 2013 HTC One hesitant about upgrading since they won't be getting a whole lot more of their money. And the last thing that HTC's need right now is for its 2014 flagship to sell poorly. As for the Galaxy S5, previous Samsung Galaxy flagship models have sold pretty well, and the new one is probably not going to be any less popular. Nevertheless, we are hoping that even after all the leaks, the HTC will have something to surprise us with at its March 25 event, and then once the new one is announced, we should get a better idea of whether HTC's new Samsung would really stand a chance against Samsung's finest, or the Samsung Galaxy S5 is still better than the HTC One New or M8, whatever they will call. So most probably it will be called as all new HTC One. So this will be a very hard battle, as well as there's another smartphone called as the Xperia Z2, which is also very great with 3 GB of RAM. So yes, it will be interesting to see the HTC One, the all new HTC One 2014 model, which will be officially be revealing at 25th March. So make sure you subscribe to my channel to get every single update about the event, and also more and more tech videos to come. And I will be seeing you in next video. Peace.